Hello, I'm DJ Armac, and welcome to KSPB Pebble Beach. I'm joined here with Burke Boynton, and I'm just going to ask him a couple questions about his business, what he does, how it's been in COVID, etc. Well, starting off, could you just tell us a little bit about your business and how it began?
Sure. So I've been involved with the local board industry since the kind of mid 2000s. I used to work at Sunshine Freestyle when that was around, down in Monterey, and kind of ever since then I had, been around surfboards, talking to shapers and different surfers in the area. You sort of formulate ideas about what you want, what you think works, designs that intrigue you. And I ordered a lot of different kind of boards when I worked there, and it was always kind of tricky getting the right thing for you, getting the shaper to kind of translate what you want. So I just always had that idea in my head. And over the years, I got to play with a couple different, shapes and designs and just sort of backyard style board making. And they were funky, but they were fun. And a few years ago, Malachi Boyce of Route 1 Surfboards gave me the opportunity to start working out of his factory. He has a CNC machine there, a full shaping room, glass shop, the whole deal. And I had actually blown out both of my knees. I wasn't surfing very much. And I just started spending a bunch of time just kind of working on a couple boards for friends. And it sort of developed into, made a board for this guy. His buddy wants a board. And it's kind of has just sort of taken off on its own. I haven't really done any marketing except for, a couple Instagram posts here and there. Now I've been, for the last 2 years, I've been booked out at least a couple months, this whole time. So it's really happened very organically and naturally. And I'm really appreciative to the local community for the support. It's been great.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I surf quite a bit, and it's always hard to find a board, I feel like, that actually suits you perfectly, because I don't know, some of the generic boards, it gets a little tough. So that's pretty cool. You make specialized boards for people, basically?
Yeah, I do pretty much 100% customs. I don't do any shop stock boards. And I part of that is just a limited time frame. It's, I do have some models that I'll kind of use as chassis for different people. So if they want a fish or a mid-length, but customized to their dimensions or their preferences, then I'll take something I know works and sort of tweak it for them. But for the most part, everything is a full custom that I do right now.
Mm-hmm. Could you run us through what's kind of an average workday for you, around surfboard shaping and everything?
Sure. So right now I work full time for Malachi at the factory, and that's my 9 to 5, and that's not specifically working on only my boards. I'm working for the shop, so those days I operate I'm kind of front of house. So I'll deal with customers, answer emails, and I also run the CNC machine, which cuts out all the boards. So typically I'll kind of come in, warm up the machine, check the email, check the cut list. We have, lots and lots of boards kind of always waiting to be cut. And then you'll find the right blank, get it all lined up on the machine. It takes about 45 to an hour to cut the board out, top and bottom. And so I'll usually cut 5 to 8 of those a day. And then I'll transition into my personal board work in the evening. And so I usually work on my stuff 2 to 3 times a week. And I'll spend about 4 to 6 hours either scrubbing, which is when you take a board that comes off the CNC machine. It's about 80% finished. And you refine it. You knock down all the cut lines from the CNC, and you roll the rails, make sure everything's tucked correctly. Get your finish work on your tail and your nose, and then I'll also spend a good amount of time painting. I do a lot of custom art and spray jobs on my boards, And so that does take a lot of time, but it also gives that customer and that board a really unique, personalized feel. So that takes off a good chunk between like taping the board off to get, the spray right, or doing a custom illustration on a board. But it's really fun, and people are pretty stoked.
Yeah. Do you do longboards and shortboards? Do you do everything, or like all types of boards, from like fishes to eggs to everything?
Yeah, I do. I'm open. I'm definitely open to everything. I think my heart's more in the fish kind of mid-length realm.
Mm-hmm.
That's primarily what I ride. My daily driver is a 5'4" twin fin fish.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, I like to ride that and everything. So I've just given those boards and that theory like a little more thought. It's a little easier to, like I said, it's kind of where my heart is. And I think that there are a lot of really good shortboard shapers in the area, such as Malachi with Route 1 or Brent Bispo.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys have been working on, on those designs for years and years. And really, a high performance shortboard is a really refined thing. And I have made a few of them, but they're definitely, they definitely have my own thoughts. They're usually a little more grovelly, a little flatter rockered, versus something that's really kind of, has a lot of curve and a lot of, is meant for a really intensely performance wave. I find that generally most of our waves on the Monterey Peninsula have a lot of grovelly sections. There's a lot of waves where they're almost good. And so I feel like making a board that gets through that, but still surfs and is fun and lively is kind of my goal.
Yeah, awesome. So has COVID affected your business in any way, like negatively or positively, or at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say pretty positively. A lot more people in the water these days. A lot of people working from home, giving them kind of a little more wiggle and freedom to search out surf. And in that, there's been an absolute unprecedented boom across the industry, across the surfboard industry. So where we're all just absolutely booked. There's been a ton of orders. Additionally, living in a fairly affluent area, every time a stimulus check drops, most people are doing okay and don't really need those to survive. They'll stimulate the economy, and we've noticed that every time one of those things drops, we'll get a kind of a burst in board orders. So that's definitely, obviously it's all new to everybody, but we've certainly felt a massive increase in business around COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel the same way. I mean, it used to be like, probably before COVID, it was myself and one other of my friends that would surf like regularly, and then now like 8 other of my friends, we all go surfing all the time, because it was a way in COVID to hang out with friends, socially distanced outside, where it was hard to see people. So definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, that social aspect has been nice. When you're kind of cooped up inside all day, you can still see a few people out in the water, and that sense of community is important.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of already talked about this at the beginning, but how did you, what made you decide to get into surfboard shaping? Like, was there something that happened, or?
It was, it was pretty organic, pretty natural. I mean, I think really, the inception for me was always struggling to translate my ideas for what I wanted to another shaper and get exactly kind of what I was looking for. And so taking that into my own hands allows me to really explore different avenues that maybe a shaper wasn't willing to go down. A lot of times, and rightfully so, shapers will have ideas about what, there's some hard truths in surfboard design and hydrodynamics. And so, over the course of years, they'll develop their theories and kind of really, really stick with them. And I definitely respect and appreciate that. But in that, sometimes they're not willing to wiggle if you want to kind of explore, kind of a weird direction with the board. And so that was really the motivation to start working on my own stuff. And I like surfing a lot of our weird kind of rocky, funky waves, and finding boards that works well for specific spots in this area, which we have a pretty diverse selection of waves. Has been really rewarding, fun, and definitely another good motivation to work on your own craft. And just sort of refine the designs to how you think they're going to work best. It's been so that'd probably be my primary motivation.
All right, well, that's awesome. One last thing. Do you have any advice for anyone that would be interested in surfboard shaping or getting into business or just, I don't know, learning about it?
Yeah, I mean, if you can make absolutely. The best thing is making a connection with your local shaper or a shaper that you that you look up to or admire as far as their designs go. Spending time in the room with them or even just having conversations with them is critical, because there's so much theory and hydrodynamics that go into surfboards. You can't find it on YouTube. There's no books about it. It's really like kind of an old school trade where you have to spend time with a shaper. And most shapers I've met and interacted with aren't super proprietary with their information. They're like stoked and happy to share. And so I think that'd be the number one thing, just to talk with the local shaper. Another, there's a lot of good resources online, but nothing really beats like being in the bay and seeing the foam and watching the process. I think that's the number one way to get into it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciated it. And I mean, maybe I'll see you out in the water or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Brad. I appreciate it, man.
Yep. Awesome.